Hello friends, may the universe smile from within you. Lately my Kechari Mudra practice has been incredibly exciting, and that is because I have discovered for myself stage 5. There's very little written about stage 5 on the internet, and if you have any information about it, please do let me know. The only tidbit of information I found was an AYP site behind a small paywall, but still very limited information. And I've been thinking lately how I can express just how awesome stage 5 is. Not that I'm saying the other stages are less important than they used to be, but stage 5 is really magnanimously different and really great. So I want to give you an anatomical description of what sort of energy is moving in the body during and after doing a stage 5 practice. But first, there is an obvious comparison that I didn't want to make at first, but that is comparing the effects of stage 5 to psychedelics. And in particular, it is actually true that the sort of effect that is stimulated is very similar to ayahuasca. Except it has the very good benefit of not having this chemical haze throughout my awareness, which ayahuasca definitely does. All psychedelics to me have positive benefits, but they also have very noticeable negatives. My body usually thinks that a psychedelic is a poison on some level. I get like a response in my body of, this chemical is not quite supposed to be there. Whereas doing the Kechari Mudra in stage 5, it feels more like walking in nature and taking a breath of totally fresh air. You know, if you're like in a jungle or something, it has that super organic, clean, natural feeling to it. But now let's get on to the exact anatomical effects. The phenomenon, the experiences, the senses that happen in the body. The main difference is with the tongue, instead of going forward and up in this direction, the tongue actually curls back and then the bottom of the tongue presses backwards. And for me, I'm at the start of stage 5, but I just push it backwards like that as far as I can. In stage 4, it's very obvious that I'm stimulating energy in the nose, but also around here. You know, between the eyebrows, a classic spiritual area. With stage 5, it's very clear again that we are stimulating energy that's more behind here. I don't want to say it's the pineal gland. That seems like the spiritual lingo that floats around. You know, we have the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. But I don't know what gland it is that is being stimulated, but it's back here. The way I would describe it, after giving it some thought, is it's like there is this seed back here that wants to emit a DMT-like substance, and once it does emit that, it's very strong. It hits like a hammer in that sense, where it's not subtle at all. You go from 0 to a lot of effects. At least that was the case for me. But surrounding this seed that wants to emit this sublimination, this alchemical wonderful solution, it's almost encased within a truffle. You know, have you ever seen pictures of truffles when groundhogs, like pigs, go looking for them, or dogs are sniffing for these truffles in the ground? It's just like this blob. And it seems like the seed that wants to emit the DMT, perhaps, a chemical, is contained within the truffle. But the truffle is actually not being very nice. The truffle, in a way, is like an anatomical symbol for the ego. This truffle constrains the seed from emitting the substance. And a lot of that is because it's just objecting, it's doing ego stuff. It's complaining, distracting myself. It's weird. You'd think that bliss and pleasure is so wonderful. I would like that. But the ego really objects because just living in total bliss and goodwill and grace is actually kind of threatening to the ego. So just imagine a seed back here that wants to emit a wonderful alchemical solution, but the truffle is constraining it. For whatever reason, doing stage 5 Kechari Mudra very much stimulates this seed and it emits a lot of sublimation. At this point, the truffle doesn't just go away, it actually kind of struggles, and you need some meditative focus and skill to just surrender those objections that the ego gives, and that is a process that, takes time. And if you do this stage 5 Kechari Mudra practice for a while, my hope is that the truffle evolves, alchemicalizes into something that's more mature and healthy and aligned with grace. Now, the following days, let me talk about that, because when it happens, it hits kind of like a truck, it's very intense, all kinds of energy moves throughout the body, but then for the next few days, I am noticing, and I've only done this a dozen or so times, but I've noticed the next days, I feel great. I just feel more chipper and talkative and happy than my normal self. I also get this very classical feeling at the coccyx down the base of the spine, which is very pleasurable. It's very well known in spirituality. That spot, some say the Kundalini comes out of there. But I will just describe it as this wonderful feeling that you want to dance. Your body has this energy to it that it wants to move around and be happy. And then also, I get these sensations along the bridge of the nose, which are actually very interesting and strong, like very pertinent. It's very in the forefront of my consciousness, especially if I'm lying down. This pleasure along the bridge of the nose, I've been thinking about it, how to describe that feeling. I think the best way to explain it is, I hope this makes sense. It's like moss growing on the bridge of your nose, but the pleasure is like the roots of moss. If you imagine that, moss has very delicate, thin roots. And it's like those roots are growing on the inside of your nose. And my goodness, it's just wonderful. It's totally sublime, the feeling. It definitely helps to also be smelling some incense. It's like the ego or your sense of self is floating away into the clouds, and these clouds are just clouds of pure pleasure. It almost feels like you're getting lost, like you're forgetting what planet you're living on because you're floating away into this bliss. And then also, lastly, I've noticed a lot more feelings in myself of utter and total goodwill unto people. And the animals as well in general, which is always a very nice sign. So those are the anatomical experiences. Next, I want to talk to you about my excitement because I'm going to be doing a little bit of a 5-week meditative intensive with stage 5 Kechari Mudra, which I'm very excited about. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, the Creative Garden website. That's right, finally there is a website where you can go and discuss all your Kechari Mudra topics that you want to talk about, and you can ask any questions and give advice to others if they have questions about everything related to the Kechari Mudra. Now I want to talk about my problems with the Kechari Mudra. First, with stage 4, although it's been very useful to me and it activates a lot of interesting experiences, I do get a runny nose from doing stage 4. Which is okay, but it means I can't do it for hours and hours upon end. Stage 5, however, has none of that because the tongue is not going into the nostril area. However, I have another problem. I'm currently working a full-time job that starts at 6:30 in the morning, and I have to cycle 10 miles to get there, so I wake up kind of early. Nothing crazy, but naturally, I don't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Naturally, I want to wake up at like 7. Long story short, I shouldn't talk too much about my mundane routine life, I suppose. That's not super exciting. But once I get back home, after cycling back in the hot weather, I'm just really tired. I feel like if I just sit down, I'm going to fall asleep. And so I'm not doing much actual Kechari Mudra meditation, apart from the weekends when I feel a bit more relaxed. But now I'm going to go on a 5-week vacation. I'm actually right now working overseas, but I'm going to go back home and see my family and be around my dogs, and I'm super hyped and excited for it, and I'm going to have a lot of time to do stage 5 Kechari Mudra practice. So that is just absolutely wonderful for me and something I'm super excited about. So I wanted to share it because this YouTube channel is supposed to be about sincerity. on some level.